Ladies and gentlemen, we've made it. Episode 2. We're big now. We got 2 episodes on our belt, not just our inaugural one. And I got some really cool guests here. One that you might have recognized from a previous life. A previous life being 2 weeks ago. Was that when we hosted our last one, Hot Rod? Yeah, for real. And we got one more week left for us for the for this 2023 year. But coming alongside us is folks from the other side of the pond, the Atlantic, the European region. I'll have each of them introduce themselves so you get to know them first before we go. Oh no, can't hear, folks. Oh
boy.
I know. That was a misstep by me. Hot Rod, say hi.
Jim, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Jim, please.
Make sure Jim knows what we're doing. All right. Okay, you hear Hot Rod now. I know. I slip up. I'm running the production today, folks, so you're gonna see more than that. All right, now that you can hear Hot Rod, you can hear everybody else now too, which means I'm gonna let those folks speak on who they are, so you get to know who they are. Greth, who are you?
Hello, please.
I'm
Apps, please. So yeah, I'm Greth. I used to try and be a caster sometimes, and then I got obsessed by maps, and that's all people remember. I have not existed for the last 12 years. It's simply when this project got spoken into being that I returned to these lands, and here I am.
Beautiful. Short and sweet. Don't get used to it, though. Moving
No,
on.
that's the shortest.
Moving on next to Howsya.
Yeah, you're right. I'm UK based. I'm ex-Tribes 2 back in 2001, whatever it is. Moved on to TA, played competitively both for about 2.5 years for each of them, and Tribe Rivals come about, and I'm like, yeah, I've got to get on board with this and try and help steer this in the right direction and hopefully make this succeed, really.
We need you. And yeah, the stuff that you've been putting out in the creator chat and the animations and graphics are freaking awesome. So I'm sure once we get further into the game, you're going to put some more dope shit out there.
Hopefully so. Hopefully so.
And don't be afraid to curse on here. I don't care. And then lastly, we have good old handsome Mupp with what I think is probably the best setup that we've had on the show yet.
Well, yeah. I used to do some radio work, so I guess it comes with the territory. So I've been playing Tribes since, ye olden days of 1998, really. Started in the Tribes 1 days. Played pretty much all of them outside of the aerial assault one for the PlayStation 2, to be honest. I kind of missed out on Tribes 2 because my machine couldn't really handle it at the time, but outside of Tribes 2, I played like pseudo competitively in each one of them, to be honest. Usually rolling around with a mortar in hand.
Okay, and now I want to kick things off based off that. I want everybody in here to, if you had to pick one Tribes game that you recognize yourself for, which one is it? I'm going to start right with you, Mupp.
Not to pat myself on the back. I mean, let's say the rumors of my skill is greatly exaggerated to start off with, but with that being said, I did rise to some notoriety, I suppose, with Tribes Ascend. So that being said, I was interviewed by a few French newspapers and whatnot. I believe the French called me the Flying Squirrel because of my playstyle with the Juggernaut. Now that's Google translated. I don't know if it has any meaning in French. But no, I suppose it would be Tribes Ascend, to be honest.
Okay. How about you, Howsya?
Oh geez, now you're asking. I'm just a mediocre player, to be honest with you. I do weird stuff. TA, I did a third person montage I never really released, but I used to do weird stuff like that. I suppose I had a little bit of fame in each of Tribe 2 and TA, but I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a known individual.
So if you had to go to somebody and say, I feel most recognized by Tribes 2?
I'd probably go with TA, just because it's the more newer of the two. Plus,
Okay.
to be honest with you, I had a different nickname in T2, so...
All right.
Those that know.
Greth, are you also a TA guy?
I have to say yes, because I was a Quake and StarCraft guy before. So I was very briefly competitive in Tribes Ascend, and then all the old guard showed up, and that was that. But yeah, then I moved on to the casting and
Did you ever
renamed
play
some teams.
T1 or T2, Greth?
I ended up doing so, yeah. So I actually went back after the whole TA thing happened, and the rage had to go somewhere. So, but no, it's for the last 2 years actually, I've been testing all manner of Tribes 1 physics systems for various projects. So I've more gotten accustomed to that, and actually going into Tribes 3, it was a rude awakening, especially with inheritance and stuff. So yeah.
And HotRod?
Okay. Yeah, so I think like most everybody, I'm probably most known for Tribes of Sin, but I had a solid 10 years in Tribes 2 before that under various names and everything, but just not the level of esports success, right? Because it didn't exist
Right.
in Tribes 2. When that's the reason why I started playing Tribes of Sin, was because it had the whole esports backing. I don't think I ever even played pubs in that game, right? I only played comp, and I thought it was a fantastic comp game. Few issues that we had to navigate here and there, snipers, rock bouncing, which I loved, right? But I thought it was a great comp game, and that's where I probably had tons of success, even though I also am a mediocre player.
Yeah, I think you and I in the comp scene had the level 38, while everybody else was maxed out at 50. Was max 50? Because you and I, we would only play comp. We wouldn't level up in pubs. I was in the same boat as you.
I didn't even have, I think I played 3 seasons of Pro League, right? And only had like 4 classes unlocked, I think, by the end of that, right? But you could get away with it. You could get away with it in that game, and it was glorious.
Yeah. I think most people know me from Tribes Ascend as well. I think obviously because I worked at High Res Studios, I was the face, so you would hopefully would know me if you knew the game. But like I personally identify myself with Tribes 2. That's what really got me really into the game. Played Tribes 1, and I was like 12 years old at that point. So there was really only so much I could do, sharing a computer with 4 other sisters. So there was like very limited times. But Tribes 2 was my game. That is classic, of course, that I really thoroughly enjoyed. Okay, now with that out of the way, let's talk about Tribes 3. Maybe 5 years from now, that the answer to the question is I'm most known by is Tribes 3, because we all blow it up. The game's huge, bigger than League of Legends has ever been in its life. It's a big esport. You got Greth casting, Mupp in the EU versus NA showdown. Obviously, NA is going to win that one, but Mupp will do his best to be the flying squirrel. But I think it's very known that NA's always been on top. Tao's been on top for everything, but NA's been on top for EU. Right, HotRod?
Yeah, I've never actually had any doubt in my mind that that's true. And it's just, we play a different game. In EU, everybody has 7 ping, and it's just, they get away really easy. Oh, just point at the person and click. They don't have to do any of the difficult stuff. Right. It's really like a washed down version of an fps-z game, but it's fine. That being said, it's amazing to have you guys, and I can't wait to chat.
So let's put this down into stone then, the first LAN event, right? We'll have to start planning this one already. So there won't be any ping to save you there, right? So
we'll do that. The first global tribes LAN. I guess there hasn't been, maybe an informal one, but we're not counting that one, right? The first global tribes 3 LAN. If we have to, we'll do it at APC's house.
Yep.
I'll set it up.
Yep.
I'll man the grill. I'll bring the drinks. Greth, if you want to play, go for it. If you want to cast, I'm right by your side, and I'll be feeding you alcoholic beverages throughout. We'll be good.
I hope we have investment.
I'll bring some Belgian beer then to even the score, huh?
Let's go.
You guys are hyping this up to be like the sequel to the Reddit versus 4chan fight of Tribes Ascend. Jesus.
Yeah, I hope that there is investment in Tribes 3 esports. I don't even want to say esports because it makes it seem like, oh, we're going to go franchise leagues and all that. No. I just want enough for competitive play here to do a proper NA versus EU showdown. Like, that would be awesome. We haven't had that since, like, what wasn't there? Actually, it was East versus West at UVA LAN Tribes 2. So it wasn't even an NA versus EU. So I don't think we've ever had an NA versus EU.
No, there's never.
Holy cow. All right. Prophecy, let's make this happen. This needs to be done finally.
Yeah, proper tournaments leading up to it, cream in the crop and all that. Yeah, fly them out. in the then meta of 3v3.
What I am trying to hype up as the Reddit versus 4chan match is the ACD versus Tau. You know, for the battle of on top. ACD thinks they're on top. We let them come on the show last time around. Tau was very clearly on top even during that conversation. So Tau was willing to give them a chance to fight for the on top title. So I do want to bring that to life too once the time's right.
Look, that's just going to be a show match. All right. Everybody understands what's going to be the result of that. It's fine. ACD, you can have a shot if you want. If I were you, I wouldn't take it. And that was last Tribal Banter. This Tribal Banter, I have my sights set on EU. I'm repping the NA flag, and that's who we're going after today. So ACD people in chat, thank you for coming out last time, right? But just like pack your lunch and we'll get to you when we're finished.
Okay.
I'm kind of sad that we don't really have that kind of thing in EU. We don't have we have a couple of clans, surely, but mostly
you don't have enough toxicity.
Religious schism that exists. No, it's like
Yeah. There.
I mean,
it happens a lot here.
yeah, I mean, you had your head clans or teams or tribes, whatever you want to call it, from TA, so like your IDKs, your Heartbreakers, your
Flamboyant.
Vertigo, yeah, flamboyant, Vertigo, you know, those sort of feuds as they were, but they were all, I suppose, done more in good spirit than anything else.
From what I could tell, it was all of the EU guys liked all of the EU guys for the most part, right? At least, and they liked all of the NA guys, and that's probably because we didn't really play them much, and then we were all just kind of fans of each other. It was nice to actually be able to watch competitive tribes from the outside, not being on a team and just being able to be a fan of the sport, right? And I could only do that when it was the EU guys. I know we had like some people tried to play both NA and EU, and they could do it if they were a capper or they were a sniper, right? In Tribes of Sin. But outside of that, you just couldn't if you were playing any other position because the ping was so detrimental, right? So it was nice to be a fan of the EU teams. I remember watching them and being, I probably watched more EU games than I did NA just because all of my time spent with NA, it was practices and scrims. And I had an ego back in the day and just thought everybody that we were playing against was shit, right? But I actually respected the EU teams because I didn't have to play against them.
I could share that sentiment. And wasn't Matt in EU and he's playing on the NA team, right?
Yeah.
Like he spewed his skill over here and he was known as like the top capper. So look, as much as I know and believe that NA will dominate in the show match, I know
you're already boring the players, right? You're already boring the players.
No. Okay, so it's not fair. When you bring in a capper, right, ping it then becomes an advantage, Greth. All right, so that was kind of bullshit to begin with. All right, and then the other EU players would come over and play hit scan sniper, right, which also like ping.
Which I did, by the way. I was that bastard. You can run your routes all day. You can go in roaming and spend 12 hours, and I'll just click you out of the sky. It's fine.
Yeah, that was all you had to do. So anybody that ventured across the pond, if you will, right, I think did it in a dishonorable way.
To be fair, like, I used to do NA pugs, didn't play competitively, timescales and work, I just couldn't do it, but I used to play O on the NA pugs, and I did pretty well. I wouldn't say I was as good as some of the NA players who were relatively good, had decent pings and whatnot, but I was able to hold me own.
Just out of curiosity, though, sorry, but if you were to make anything like this work at all, does that mean we would be facing off with the Americans on Australian servers just to put everyone on an even playing field?
I mean, what I'm envisioning and why I'm asking like some investment here from Prophecy is bring us all to a location for us to play. Rent
out DreamHack.
And let it be at an event where you're already there, you already have a footprint, and then you already have 10 PCs 5v5 facing each other. Like, I don't need a stage, I don't need the lights. I would love that, but that's way more of an investment. But if you already have a footprint at like a Gamescom, for example, or a DreamHack, let's make it happen. Let's bring it. Let's really push for it. And then maybe leading up to it, we find who the top NA team is, right? And then we find the top EU team. Yep. There's a tournament circuit behind it, right? And so there's already those storylines getting produced. we create another tribal banter to talk about what's going on, right? And then we go, bam, we're at LAN. That's the proper way to do it.
Yep, I agree.
I think that would be an insane amount of pressure for the NA team for sure. I would be, I'll go ahead and sign up for coach and motivator. I'll be there, right, to support the team. I'm not going to be playing on it because I don't want that kind of smoke or any of that. I don't need that stress in my life, right? But I'll sign up to encourage the boys.
Okay, so there's a lot of topics to go over on this show. We talked amongst each other, and we're like, what do we want to talk about? What are we gonna do, right? And just like the last show, we're like, let's keep it casual, just talk about what we want to talk about. But we have our little bullet points of like, let's make sure we touch upon X, Y, and Z. As you can imagine, Greth wants to go into maps. We'll give him his platform. We're gonna listen to it. We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna engage in it. We're gonna tilt him a little bit. So we'll talk a little bit there. Game types is something that we want to go into. I don't think we talked too much last show on, and something that I truly want to go into in a deep way. I think the most interesting one that I think we'll probably spend the most time on is maybe around monetization, which then kind of also talks about retention in a way. So monetization on like what would be something that's tastefully monetized for us as maybe hardcore tribes players or maybe brand new players. Maybe look at Tribes Ascend as the starting point and say what went wrong there and what we could do better with this one this time around, knowing the game isn't going to be free to play. And then retention more being like, okay, I'm a new player. We want to make the game as user-friendly as possible so people jump into a server or ski trials or whatever and say, I like this game. Okay, cool. Now that we attracted them, how do we keep them? And likewise for me, when I'm playing this game, cool, I have, the playtests are fun, but am I going to play this game every single day in its current state? Probably not. What would be that thing to make us feel like we want to stay in the game for months and months? And if we have time, we can go into the physics topic. I think that's the most talked about topic in all feedback right now on, from the jet pool to the weapon inheritance to the skiing. Like, we can go into that, but I don't want to be too redundant on that topic. So that's just to be transparent. That's where we stand on this conversation, where we're going. I kind of want to like roll a dice right now, a D5, and say whoever it lands on gets to pick what topic we go on. And so I'm visualizing it right now, and it lands on a 4. The fourth person here, that's you, Mupp. What topic did you want to kind of start this all off on? What foot are we going on?
I mean, I thought you were going to start off with maps, so I grabbed a piece of candy. Now my mouth is full here. I was going to eat my candy for 20 minutes and just let Greth do his thing.
20 minutes?
Yeah, okay, fair enough. But honestly, monetization, I think that's a very interesting topic because, I mean, like you say, we all know about the price point that has been set. I believe currently it's at 20 euros / dollars, thereabouts. And I mean, from my perspective, and I kind of do this as a job. I'm a game design teacher nowadays, so monetization, design, and stuff like that is kind of something I delve into on occasion. And I mean, I can get started if you want me to.
Yeah, kick it off. Like I want to avoid this to be very
pens and papers, everyone.
Yeah, like I take it away. I'm going to chime in where I feel necessary.
Okay, so basically, it's an interesting choice to go with the paid model as it has been decided now. It is a double-edged sword to some extent. I mean, honestly, we're gonna see a loss of maybe 90% of all potential players because of the giant surge of people that try out free-to-play games. So, but then of course, you will most likely get rid of the majority of cheaters, because with cheaters being forced to pay for a new copy of the game as they're found out to be cheating and banned and so on and so forth. Yeah, it's a good way to get rid of a lot of cheaters. However, again, it's going to take quite some convincing in order to, well, basically just convince anyone to fork up the money. It doesn't really matter the price point itself. I mean, we're all nerds here. We're all tribes nerds here, right? So it wouldn't matter for us if the game was $99. We would most likely buy it anyhow. So it doesn't really matter, with that being said, if the game was $3.99 or $80, because it will still require a user to pick up the credit card and make the actual manual purchase of the product itself. and that takes effort. I mean, Spotify is a thing because it's so damn easy. You don't need to fork up any money to use Spotify, for example. But if you want to get rid of the ads, you can do so. So that pretty much eliminated all piracy when it came to music. And it's kind of the same thing we're seeing with Tribes again. I'm trying and I'm hoping for the very best, in outreach, basically, to see new people trying out Tribes. Hopefully there's going to be a next, bless his soul, Total Biscuit, of course, because he was a great advocate of Tribes Ascend, and hopefully we'll see the next YouTube personality picking up Tribes 3, to be honest, because that's kind of what we need, if you ask me, to be able to see these new people just forking up that credit card, buying the game.
Yeah, when you mentioned that, and yeah, TB, man, rest in peace. We have a couple folks in the creator channel for Tribes 3 that are pretty well known in the on the creator front. The one guy I'll shout out is Carnage. The guy pulls 2,000 plus individuals when he live streams. Just this morning, I saw him come into the general chat and say, like, all I want for 2024 is Tribes 3, is essentially what he said. And I'm like, dude, the guy is still hungry for Tribes 3, right? Like, the first couple playtests didn't turn him off. And so if we could work with folks like him to really help, get this game out there to those new players, that's what we need to do. And I'd love to get him on a show like this to see, where his head's at today. How could we support him in his creation of content and what he's seen in the past for, similar games maybe that need that kind of crutch. But I think all of us, especially in our older age of Tribes, we almost want to do anything we can, minus take away the skiing and the jetpacking of Tribes, to make sure that Tribes is acceptable by a wider audience. So how do we keep Tribes at its core, but more engaging for that new player? And yeah, that cost, that $20 price point, I think that was mentioned, is not a scary one. 60 could be scary. That's triple the amount. That's a AAA game that I don't even pay $60 for a game that I'm on the fence with. But $20, it's easy enough to say, all right, fine, I'll fork it over.
Yeah. So one thing I want to ask actually is does a free trial still exist? Does like a demo version still exist? We have playtest versions of games that you could say, like, listen, you and all the potential cheaters can stick to one map or something like that, and you guys are in the foyer of the game. Play on those things. I guess infrastructure wise that's going to be hell, but still. And then you have a little free taste. Maybe you can do the time trials. Maybe you can do the skiing and stuff, and then you can move over to the premium version, the actual game, where you are filtered and then completely destroyed by better players and never play the game again. But still, it's that's apart from the other microtransactions and everything that are probably also going to be in the game. But yeah, I think the price point, especially for a new generation, like the kids that have to ask their parents' credit card and stuff, that's going to be a barrier. But, because I am maybe delusional, but I do think that demographic is possible. I've asked people, like nephews and stuff that I show Tribes over the years, and they're like, wow, yeah, can you play this? And I'm like, okay, so here are the 5 hoops you have to jump through to try and get a Tribes game going. But now we have that potential, because everyone who sees it thinks it's cool, regardless of how well they're going to do with the game. But yeah. You
know what's fun? Like I've been putting some YouTube shorts up from my streams from the playtest. It's so easy. Twitch allows me just to export it to YouTube. Boom, it's done. I didn't have to do any editing. They turned it into portrait mode itself. Those got a lot of clicks. Like one of them, 2,000 clicks in a matter of a day. And the most common comment is, "What is this game? It looks like Halo." Every time. And I think what I'm reading is like, the game looks cool. It seems like fun. I have no idea what it is. What is it, right? Like, I feel like it's not, the game doesn't have the problem of, does it look good, or is it fun to play, or at least fun to watch? It's, what is it? And getting them through the barrier of jetpacking, skiing, and all that, which I think ski trials is a beautiful thing to do. I brought a coworker into playing the game for the first time, threw him in the ski trials first. 10 minutes later, we went into a map. He was skiing like any better than any other new player I've ever seen before. And I think that was a great gateway for him to join the game and have some kind of tutorial to bring that new player in. We've never had that in Tribes, a proper tutorial.
And that's a great thing, and it's brilliant that they did bring that in. And I hope that they continue with that to introduce like more, so you can get like how to maintain your speed, how to increase your speed, how to shoot while at speed with a mortar, for argument's sake, so you can hit a target. If we can get those sort of tutorial-esque systems in, it will definitely open up a lot more avenues for the newer player coming to the game to get the grips of what's involved, and potentially even help some of the older veterans or older people like myself who now adapt slower than the younger generations, you know. I think that will be a good way to go forward, definitely.
So this might be a good poll, but I want to throw this out to the group, but I'll ask Mupp, you, since kind of we got on monetization, but do we actually think that Tribes is a hard game? Is this a difficult game? And do we think that it being difficult, or our, I'm going to say, illusion of it being difficult, is what keeps people from playing it?
I believe difficult is the wrong word. Different is probably what we want to look for here, because the fps-z genre, you know, looking at these types of games, but Tribes specifically, is just so different, because you can't really transfer a lot of skills going from one kind of game to another. I mean, take Call of Duty and Counter-Strike, you can pretty much just jump between the two, you'll get used to some new bullet spread patterns or whatever, and you learn the maps and off you go. But you can't really go from just Quake Rocket Arena to Tribes, because just that jetpacking, that skiing just introduces a new dimension almost to the game itself. And that is something that we need to look at onboarding new players into. I'm going to challenge APC on one particular thing on the tutorials, because Tribes Vengeance, in my opinion, had the best tutorial. It had a single player mode, a full-blown single player campaign.
Sure.
A lot of players bought that game just to play that single player campaign. They liked the game, they tried out the multiplayer, boom, we have a new Tribes fan. Pretty much. And I mean, look at what Titanfall 2 has done with just opening the doors to sort of single player shooter campaigns. It's one of the most lauded, you know, single player campaigns of all time. Titanfall 2. I think we could potentially see, you know, weaving Tribes 3 into that aspect, if you will. Potentially.
Yeah, I forgot about the single player. I enjoyed it myself, you know, like it was just, you know, the first Tribes with something that's not multiplayer. And I wanted to learn more about the lore through playing it, right? That's one of the benefits of a single player game. So no, challenge accepted on that. I think in a game that I'm assuming Tribes 3 is not going to have that, what is another way of teaching people? I feel like the getting thrown into a map with other players to just MA you, decimate you, stop you in your tracks, and you're just like, well, what the heck? I don't even know where to start. Something that is racing against yourself in bettering yourself, not comparing yourself to HotRod and his high score and all that. Not yet. But like once you feel more comfortable and like, hey, I feel like I got a faster time. Let me see how my friends are doing. Oh wow, I could do better. And then you can learn and learn and learn. So I think these are good ways. Like I think we started with the topic of monetization, and now we're going like kind of like the retention of like you have your new player,
Yeah.
And then how do you get them interested? Okay, now that they're interested, how do you get them involved in like more of like down the right path? And then like let's go to the next step further. And Howsya, I'll talk to you on this one. Let's say we got a new player in here and they're having fun. They're enjoying their time. What keeps them?
Well, I mean, you've got multiple different things. I mean, you look at Fortnite, for argument's sake. You've got all of the dances, the skins, you know, all those sort of elements. So sticking sort of in line with the monetization side of it, you could introduce new models. Like, throw me a Bioderm model. I will quite happily, as an advert. But throw me literally a bioderm scheme, I will pay £10 for that, no problem whatsoever. You've got £10 straight out of the bat for me for that. Give me different colour skins. You know, I don't want a blue disc. I want to have a purple coloured disc that I shoot out. You know, if it's done right, specifically with the targeted price tag of $20 odd or whatever it's being targeted as, you do $4 or $5 for a new crosshair or whatever. People will buy that stuff. So that's going to be one level of retention. Fun and interesting maps. Game modes, you know, you bring out different maps, different types of game modes. I mean, we're going out on a complete limb here, but do the floor is lava for argument's sake. You know, you've got these platforms you've got to jump across, and you might need to disc jump or whatever. But you touch that floor, you're dead. Game over. But you've got to do it at the quickest speed. You know, just silly little game modes like that. Lack Rabbit was a brilliant one for Tribes 2. Like, that was absolutely amazing. You're basically playing football with Tribes. But yeah, just things like that to keep people engaged and interested. I mean, like, you go into the realms of like Trackmania. Now that is obviously just a racing game, but the community could make their own custom maps, and you would get maps thrown out left, right, and centre every week.
Mm-hmm.
And people would engage with them. They'll try and you know, oh, you beat me by 0.2 seconds, right? I'm going to do better than you, and it becomes a challenge, and it becomes, you know, interesting and engaging in that sense.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So-
One thing that we're forgetting, and that I saw last time with Splitgate, is the inherent need for progression, because there's a lot of players right now. Because Fortnite is a good example, and Apex is a good example. Apex has all kinds of cards that you can show your stats on every time you start a game, right? That you show to people, like, I am this, I have done this in the game. That progression is more important than their actual skill in the game. We've done this in Tribes Ascend with the Wilderzone.org, where we had all the stats, and we had the API.
I love that site.
You could see, okay, yeah, I've got the most melee kills, or I've gone the fastest, even though I glitched through the map and whatever. All of these things, they are bragging, right? Right now, with Fortnite, people are also bragging with the things they bought. Maybe we can connect some of those things to harder and harder and more absurd achievements. That even for the veterans might be a hard thing to do, like get 50 mid-airs in a single game, you know, kind of those kind of things. No, Honor Fuse is gone, so we're good. But yeah, so those things that we used to see our skill, right? Like I completely destroyed the server, or I did these things. Right now, it's what can you show in your card? What's on your report card, right? And again, Splitgate did that to my annoyance, but apparently to great jubilation of others. And then Halo Infinite killed it, and then Halo Infinite died. But those are the things that are important right now for the generation that is playing these games right now. And I think even connecting the Overwatch connects their skins to some of these as well. And the word Battle Pass is of course a word that we have to spread out. But yeah, those things, they take time to build. That is a system all of it on its own. And then yeah, connecting that to tutorials and maybe some trials and everything. Defrag is the big name there, or Extreme Ski as it was in Tribes.
Mm-hmm.
That whole package needs to exist on top of the game. And then eventually people will also be playing the game and realize they're having fun with that. But that is no longer how people come to a game. Like, what can I earn? What are the skins? What can I do? It's just this game. Okay, I'm out.
Yep. Yeah. I and Jazz kind of alluded to this in chat as well. It's just like new players need something more than joining a match, getting to the end match screen, and hit and play again. And that's kind of where I was coming at too. With playtest was fun. I loved playing a new map, and then after I played that map 5 times, I'm like, well, hey, you guys want to try to do some flag passes, right? I had to make my own mini games within the game because there was only so much I could do in the playtest. It's early in beta, I get it. There's more to come and such, but like if it stayed in that state, it doesn't work. And if you look back at other Tribes games, it didn't have anything else other than queue up and play. There wasn't even a ranked. So like a ranked alone could help engage those competitive players, but that's like 10%. Like everyone's competitive in nature in one way or another, but the people who are playing ranked are the ones who are probably trying to chase that, top of the top, cream of the crop level. But the other players, like, this is me in like Marvel Snap. It was just one example because I did it yesterday. Loaded up my game and I have 3 things I have to finish. I played the games. They're not decks that I normally play, but I did those decks so I can get those dailies done. And it's the same thing I'm thinking with like dailies for tribes where it's like get 15 MAs. Well, I don't normally go for MAs. I'm a mortar guy. It's like, well, if you want to get your 10,000 XP, go get your MAs. I think I think that was actually someone took it as a controversial topic last time we talked on this and said like we don't need another Call of Duty out there. I'm like, I don't know. Like I'm not saying we need to go down the Call of Duty route, and I'm not saying the weapons, by the way. Let's be very clear real quick. With the game having a pay barrier of $20, give me everything and do not hide anything that makes me say you need to play more to get the better spin fuser or what have you. None of that needs to exist. That's pay to win. Not doing that. That's not okay. But I think it's okay to, hey, play X many competitive games, you get a golden skin or something. Like you need to earn something by doing a certain, like whether it's through XP or hitting 10,000 MAs and now you get the golden disc or something. Like, fuck yeah, I want to show off my skill by whether it's a leaderboard on Wilder Zone or better yet in game or through a skin or something.
I think you're absolutely sorry.
Yeah, just real quick, the Valorant last kill animations. If you get those in tribes, if you mid-air someone and you have a certain achievement and you mid-air someone and it's a giant purple explosion or whatever, the whole map can see that you're on the prowl and got one again. That's the kind of stuff you can put into tribes that I have no problem with.
Neat.
Yeah.
Well, I think you're absolutely on to something to start off with, because I mean, honestly, this is a sign of the times. Gone are the days when we could get a Quake 2 or the Tribes 2 for that matter, where you have join game button and that's it. There's no real progression tied to it. And these are modern times. We need a carrot. The player needs to have a carrot dangling in front of them. It needs to be just within reach and it needs to be there constantly. Whether or not that carrot is a new cape, a new weapon, or a new animation doesn't really matter. There needs to be something. And I mean, I'm just super happy to see capes being a thing in Tribes 3, to be honest, because you might remember this, Howsya. This was something we were discussing way back when we were talking about ways to monetize Tribes Ascend. We were talking about, add capes to the game. How about you unlock new colors for the jetpack trail? How about you have different melee animations? You can unlock, a frozen fish, a hammer, a sword. It's the same melee attack, same damage, it's just new animations. And I love all the ways that we can potentially look at stuff like this, because it allows, the gang to keep the servers rolling. Because unfortunately, with this 20 euros or $20 price point for the game, the vast majority of people are going to buy it within the first couple of months, and then that's pretty much it. Yeah. And we need to have the servers rolling, of course. So we're going to need to see more additional monetization, of course. And take the finals, for example. I mean, you have the sort of, I don't know, most of you, I assume, have played the finals. You have a lineup of the team and you see a few animations, and then there's the next camera angle of the next team, a few animations. What's to say we can have the same thing with a Tribes game, for example? You see the 2 different teams, you have a lineup of all the soldiers with their fanciful skins, and you can unlock additional animations for that intro sequence, and then we're off to the races, pretty much. Something that could potentially be done relatively easy. Well, I mean, new animations, sure.
I would love to see, and Apex has kind of done this, but I would love to see capes tied to almost like group or clan support, right? Where you have somebody that can set up and like submit, I would like this awesome yellow cape and this is the Tau cape. And then I have to actually hand that out to players versus them actually purchasing it. I think something like that could be really cool if they could figure out a good way to be able to manage that. I just wanted to get that out there before it slips my brain, because I'm half a glass of tequila down. But I want to go back to a few things. So you said carrot, right? Carrot. And I think that there's multiple ways that you can do this. And there's multiple things that gamers will look for outside of just that individual game as being that carrot, right? We have gamers that are trying to climb ranked boards. right? We're assuming that we're going to have that in tribes, where we have people that play the game in order to just get clips, right? So post something on Twitter and get a like. That's a shot of dopamine that's kind of outside of the game of something that they developed inside of the game. However, in order for them to do that, there have to be clippable moments in the game. And I want to kind of go back to this and ask you guys your honest take on this, because I'm a bit of a skeptic myself. And does Tribes 3 currently have what you think can be a clippable moment? Or does it have storylines or something that you see as impressive? Because I've been thinking about this a lot, right? And I don't necessarily think that's people hitting a midair, right? Unless it is a crazy one in a stressful situation, and you can detail that through a clip. I don't think that is that impressive to me, and I don't think it's impressive to me because I don't think it'll be impressive to a younger generation. Not like it is to us, certainly, right? So I wanted to get your Greth. I think that you probably are fairly passionate about this, so I'm going to just propose it to you. Do you think that Tribes 3 in its current build allows for short highlights that would get the attention of young Zoomers these days that are playing the finals and that are playing Fortnite?
Yes, with a little bit of context. There is the resistance of the fact that Tribes is a weird game. CTF has been a dead genre for a while, or dead game type for a while, right? But I'm not a montage guy, right? I am barely holding on here playing this game. But I have had a little shorts, 15 to 30 seconds. I've had them do well. I've had almost 10,000 views on some of them, right? And same with APC. What he said, like a lot of people going, "What the hell is this?" But the thing is, you need a little bit of context. Like nitrons and stuff, you can see something is happening and people are excited about it. Let's not talk about the nitron as a mechanic, but as a moment. People who are new to the game don't realize how cheap it is right now, right? So maybe if it's reduced to a midair or a direct hit thing, then it's cooler. People dogpiling, a guy going 300 and then skipping off the stand and returning, and there are moments, but they will need their context. Otherwise, it's just a lot of pretty lights, and then the midairs will do fine, because then it's just things exploding and going fast. So, yeah, people who are already interested in this type of game will maybe take that step to learn the context. But someone coming from another genre or whatever will not do that at all. So you're already looking at maybe not even the Fortnite guys, maybe the Apex guys, maybe those kind of people. Yeah, so I think yes, but with context.
Do you think that, and you kind of alluded to this, and I want to get into it, right? But CTF is maybe not the best game type to do this, because what is it, in my opinion, what a clippable moment is, it's usually a kill, right? I think that, yeah, going fast and grabbing a flag is one thing, but unless you understand the game, you're not going to understand the clip. If I chain gun somebody, and just hit him with perfect chain and then spin around and hit a disc on another guy, right? That's two kills that are pretty flashy. I think you can understand that, even if you're not a player of Tribes. So CTF being the main game mode that we are introducing players and trying to teach them to play, I don't think plays into this what I think is a special sauce to get a game popular, right? And I kind of wanted to know, all right, what's your views on that? And then let's talk about game types and where we can go and what things you would like to see the Prophecy team try.
I'm just going to add to that real quickly, because, I mean, just to Greth's point, CTF being sort of dead, quote unquote, but I mean, just the small variables with CTF makes it kind of hard to grasp in a game like Tribes Ascend. Just take Tribes 3. Take the fact that, can I capture when my own flag is missing? Like that small variable, without knowing how that works, you can't really grasp the minute details and clutch esports moments of Tribes 3. But take, for example, then Rocket League. They do football. They have cars, but they do football. Soccer, yeah. but yeah. In any which case, I mean, there was an attempt to do just that in Tribes Vengeance as well. I enjoyed that game mode myself. really a lot. But it just, everybody understands it. There's a ball. You need to kick it into a goal, and that's it.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't matter how you dress it up. There's disc launchers, mortars, whatever, but there's a ball and it needs to go into the hoop or the goal, and that's it. That would be really, just graspable, if you ask me.
Yeah, and like when I thought about this before Tribes 3, and I said on the last podcast this whole design doc idea and thing I have.
Get your docs out.
Maybe, yeah, careful. Another time. But that's one of the things. I like the second page was like, what makes tribes, and what needs to be fixed, what needs to be looked at into more detail, and the game mode was one of them. Like, it's so hard as a new player to get into it because you have different classes, which then have different roles that you have to play. It's fast-paced. The projectile shooting is a lot harder than hit scan shooting. Like, there's so many variables just mixed into tribes and then layered onto a game type like CTF with 2 flags. There's a lot going on at once, and unless you invest a lot of time into learning and playing, you're probably not going to grasp it. So I'm glad we're going into the game types conversation, because there's a lot that tribes had, and there's game modes that other games have. It's funny that we're talking about the finals. One of the 2 game modes I have is Bank It. You know what it is? It's essentially hunters. We had hunters in the past. You hoard all your flags. You kill the guy that has all the flags. You have a yard sale. You pick up all those flags and you bring it to the Nexus, right? That's essentially what that game mode is. So, like, there's that. There's your team deathmatch. There's duel modes where it's 1v1 or a team duel mode, which I was going into a detail last time with Team Gauntlet. Siege, which is your traditional attack and defend mode, which is something in shooters like an Overwatch, for example, that people can kind of grasp and say, here's your objective, get it done within this time. Now it's your turn, but now you have to defend, right? The game holds your hand to tell you what you have to do. CTF, not really. I mean, I barely get a notification when I get Nitron, capture and hold and all that. So with all those in mind and mentioned, is there a game mode that shouts to anyone that says this is the one that we should probably test next in the next play test? First one to respond gets the mic.
I've got it. I think I know what I would want to see, right? And I think that they could do it. And I don't know of a game that is in multiplayer FPS game that has done it well, at least to this point. But if anybody's played like Ultra Kill, right? It's a single player game, or even the Devil May Cry games, right? When you start comboing somebody, you have kind of like an arcadey score that ticks up and tells you how well you're doing. Like, you've got your B, and then you hit another piece of the combo, and now you moved up to an A, and then S and Super and all that stuff. I would love to see a Lack Rabbit mode where whenever you get the flag, you have this kind of combo counter starting, right? And you can midair people and it will shoot up a letter grade. If you perfect chain people, it goes up further than that, and make it metal, make it Rockstar, and make people like get an insane rush of dopamine and see like how high they can get a combo before they get killed with the flag. I think that would be a phenomenal game mode that I would love to see somebody execute.
Any thoughts on that, Howsya? I can't see your facial expression, so I have to hear it.
No, it's all good. It's all good. No, that sounds like a fun one, actually. And to be honest with you, that would tie into pretty much any game mode that you want, be it CTF, Team Deathmatch, Siege, Rabbit, Lack Rabbit, dual mods. It doesn't matter, if you're clocking up speed or clocking up a score for the speed you're doing, and then you land that sweet MA, which could also factor in distance and give you a bonus on stuff like that. That's another way, ironically, for potentially player retention, because of your getting the people engaged. Because I want to do that 250 kph, and I want to get that mid-air that's 400 meters away whilst holding the flag. And oh look, Mupp's coming at me, so I now need to dodge this mortar that's coming at me. So you've got all those factors that you can come in, so that it works for every game mode. I mean, from a T2's perspective, from back in my heyday, like, capture the flag was the way that you played the game. I mean, you had your capture and hold and all the others, but primarily it was capture the flag. But one game that I did used to, or the two other most I did used to love was Rabbit when it was out, and then when they introduced Lack Rabbit, that was just so much fun.
Yep.
It really, really was. So, but yeah, I definitely like the idea of the score system you get from doing X.
I actually just realized, like, this, we're going off on a tangent, but tribes, in essence, lore-wise, Jim, we're watching, is gladiatorial combat. So why not entertain the masses? Why not go for that? Because you are actually, sometimes you're going for the mid-air knowing that you should just take out your chain. You're not doing anyone any favors by staying on the skill. Just get it over with. But you're doing it because you want that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So put it in the game. Just put the need to mid-air and put that in. So that's a way to spruce up the combat a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did want to say I do have 2 pitches for elevator pitches for game times.
Okay.
Not necessarily completely on the list, but one, attempt to save CTF, because one problem we have right now is we're looking at this from an LT perspective, right? We're letting base on the side a little bit. A lot of new players that I've seen, they are indeed reluctant to go along with the flag. They're either going to stay D or just going to do some death matching. They're like, I don't want to. There are two types of players: the ones that don't want to deal with the flag, and the ones that are going like, what, and llama it and ruin everyone's day. Because what happens in T1, what happens in T2 Classic? They are in the generator, they're doing deployables, they're doing all manner of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we're not going to do that because that's going to create too much overhead for development. We need to be realistic in our feature creep here. So, my suggestion is very simple. Add Quake-style pickups. Have things in bases, have things on the map in difficult spots, like we have the nuggets in, on the statue of Chad. And have them always be beneficial. So you can have your little newbie roaming around the midfield being completely useless in a CTF setting, but have them pick up a heavy armor tick, so your team gets a heavy armor for the whole thing, or give someone a regen, a health pack. Like everybody on the map right now gets a health pack on a cooldown. There you go. All those kind of things. You can put a lot of nuts and bolts together. And if you have big pickups, important ones, like weapons maybe, Mupp, your fusion mortar is going in the generator room and it's going to spawn every 30 seconds. The other team can then attack the base, try to steal all the pickups. And they're on timers like in Quake. You could create control, out of control, the system that Quake runs on. And now you have pseudo base with very little overhead. That's my saving CTF.
Okay.
And then I'm about to be kicked from podcast. It is not Battle Royale that I'm suggesting. Right? It is not.
But
But
It's Battle Royale.
I have to promote big maps. So you have a giant asymmetrical map. And you put a couple of random flags on it. And like hunters, you collect flags, but they become your spawn points. And you have a reducing field in terms of people getting revealed on the minimap. And it is just a team deathmatch. Kill everyone with a flag, return them, grab them. You lose your spawn point. You run out of people that can respawn, and your team is eliminated. And then
interesting.
Like that. And that is the pubby mode. That is not a high-end competitive thing. That's just, hey, you want to just be on a server. You have and not a long timer, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. See how many kills. Can you eliminate people, get some points, get some scores from mid-airing the flag carriers and whatever. That's it. Because if there's any Battle Royale mode, then it would be a race to the middle of the map.
Camping, hiding in a divot that no one can see unless you go in a certain spot. Like,
no, you have, if you have a Battle Royale mode, it's a rapidly shrinking. It's like you have to have maintained at least 100 kph in order to, and then you just drop off race to the middle of the map to try and survive. That's the battle royale mode that I do. Just a race.
Yeah, the idea of I'm trying to think of that second one, because I like the idea of just like, give me something that I can like. And I first looked at it through my lens, where I'm a capper, I'm a guy that likes to ski, go fast. That sounds awesome. Give me a fat map to do that, grab flags and score points and be the best. I'm trying to put it through like Mupp's eyes, where he's heavy and he's more of a mortar guy. Is he going to have the same enjoyment on that game mode, or is it more about the skiing? Like, is there a place for heavies in that game mode?
Well, yeah, because you've got the team, right? You put a flag on the heavy, and he becomes a spawn point for your team.
Okay, so it's like how long you can hold the flag type deal. Like the amount of flag control is your score. Because there's got to be some kind of objective, right? It's not just all willy nilly.
No. So it would be just trying to score as many kills and eliminate the other team. Basically, be the last team standing, and you could have as many teams on that map as you want because it's giant.
Got it. Okay, I think I understand now. I think I was misunderstanding it at first, but I think I follow now.
Multiple teams and like 3-4 players per team or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
and
just like the finals.
Yeah, but it is, again, it's not battle royale, but it is, you try to. Yeah, that's why I also called it hunt, but there's hunters, of course, as well. But you have to look for people, right? You have to. It is a giant map, so you could have people hide, and that's why revealing where people are after a while or something is a point. But
have you seen something like that in another game or something, or have you played this, or is this all a product of Greth's imagination?
It's mostly like coalescing. It was answering the question like, we need a pub mode, and people expect something battle royale-y. And I have a full design document that I'll maybe put it in the Discord or something. But yeah, that's better explained. But it's basically have people be the spawn points and kill them, run out, and find more flags on the map to be your spawn point. So
yeah,
that's
and I think something more like team deathmatch. You call it battle royale. I hear team deathmatch in it, and like a couple folks in chat were even saying like, yeah, that's more of the pubby casual gameplay than it is like what our ranked 5v5 or 7v7. We still got to try that, but our ranked mode will probably be CTF since it'll be more team play oriented versus team deathmatch. It's team oriented, but it's just kill or be killed. One thing I want to probably was mentioned on the last show too, but one thing that I feel very strongly about is we have to have a limited amount of game modes. We can't have all of them because then you really diversify your audience. And if someone like 10 people like this game mode, 20 like that one, 50 like this one, like you will have very small queues. You play against the same people. You have long wait times for your queues, especially when there's a ranked. So like when I think of the front screen and you hit the play button and then you have 3 blocks, you got your open queue, which is maybe open queue CTF. Then you got your open queue team deathmatch or whatever mode that is. And then you have your ranked, right? Maybe on the bottom, there's like the ski trials, which is kind of like the single player mode in a way. But we need to be able to play. We need to be able to have that competitive game mode, which I think as tribes, it needs to be CTF. We could poke the holes in what CTF has as tribes, but as a tribes player, if you don't give me CTF, I'm not interested as much, right? Not to say I can't be interested in other game modes, but I need CTF to say I'm playing tribes. I need to have that gameplay. But having 1 or 2 other modes outside of that will be fine. But 4 or 5 or 6 more, probably not okay or healthy for the game or the audience.
I mean, I totally agree with you, and you absolutely need that sort of critical mass to be able to have people funding matches to start off with. But some games are actually successfully rotating special game modes, for example, over weekends. And if you ask me, I believe there's an option of using existing variables, playing around with pre-existing concepts, like take ye old standard CTF, but there's only one flag in the middle. So it's kind of going back to that football/soccer thing.
Yep.
Because again, it's very obvious. There's one flag, take it home, done and dusted. There's also other, things. I was never a rabbit player myself. but I believe some things can be made more obvious to a new player. For example, if you just have a super obvious force field around the people who's not the rabbit, right? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but some modes of rabbit you were able to kill the non-rabbit and you got minus points, and in other modes you couldn't even damage them.
Black
I
rabbit, you
believe.
could not hurt anyone other than the flag carrier.
Ah, yeah, that's the one. So basically, this is going to be kind of a tough cookie to present to a new player because they see an opponent, they can damage that person, they're going to keep on firing at that person till that person dies. Boom, that's the new player experience. They don't necessarily know they're supposed to shoot the flag carrier. So again, like super obvious force fields, you can't damage the other people who's not the rabbit. That could be a rotatable sort of game mode every weekend. You could even go as far as to tie it into the FOMO. Because I'm kind of going back to the previous topic here, but looking at the 4 general players, we have, this is fairly well known in design terms, you have the archetypes, you have the killers, you have the socializers, you have the achievers, and you have the explorers. Now, typically what games like Tribes have been focused on is the killers, because they're the ones who wants to play multiplayer and kill other humans. That's the killers. But now we're sort of starting to see socializers because we were in clans, we hang around on Discord, we chat each other up. Look at me and Howsya, we've been socializing for the last 12 years or whatever it is. Then you have the explorers, which is it's gonna be hard to satisfy the explorer because they want an open World of Warcraft type environment to explore. However, for the achievers, you could have stuff tying into these rotating game modes, the weird little game modes that you see popping up every weekend. And there's a new cape if you happen to, I don't know, play enough of those matches every week or whatever. So you could actually sort of aim for the 3 out of 4 of these player archetypes to some extent by rotating the game modes and still being able to keep the critical mass sort of engaged with the limited amount of play modes that exist.
I like the breakdown there a lot. And I think that while I do agree you can grab like the explorers and the achievers through more difficult means, I think that when it comes down to it, where I see games becoming popular, FPS games, it is still an FPS game, right? Is the killers. And I think that Tribes needs to be able to show and have a game type surrounding that caters to the killers, right? That is based around killing. I think CTF is the most fun competitive game mode I've ever played in an FPS, right? I've played it in Tribes, I've played it in Team Fortress 2, I've played it in Titanfall 2, all of those, and it's amazing. But I don't think it's the best way to introduce. I played it in Quake, and it was great in Quake 2. It's not the best way to introduce players into these more difficult and challenging games. I think that you have to make it as simple as you can, and Tribes offers the ability to kill people with different guns that are fun to kill people with, right? I think that there's some work there that needs to be done on making them fun to kill people with, but still, like, that's what they're going for. That's the goal. And it offers that, the being able to fly and do it at the same time. No other genre of game can do that. And I think that they have to be able to capture that to be able to sell any of those players that it's a fun game. Because I don't think any of those players are going to want to play if the player base is 25 people.
Yeah.
Okay, so
it's
Greth,
I just wanted to
go ahead, because I want to throw something at you after this too. So give a thought, and I'll get back to you.
So there's no reason why, if everything goes well, I know everyone, we're going to be optimistic for a while. If there's no reason why this game can't reintroduce CTF, but we have to be careful that it does indeed provide enough for the normal people to get the time to realize what CTF is, because it is probably Tribes. I've done a lot of competitive games. I've been, again, the backbencher in a lot of these things. It is with the timings and the roles that are not explicitly shown to the players, because invisible skill is a large problem. The shooting skill of Tribes, the killing, is very visual. but the teamwork and everything is learned, and that's again an onboarding thing. But it is the most high skill team game that you can have, probably, right? But people need to discover that fact because, again, new players, they are being useless in the midfield. There's not a lot of people that say, oh, let's go follow that flag guy and then jet and fall, because they're just confused. And if we can do that, supplementing it with different game modes, like, hey, you know what, you're new, just go shoot some people, all right? Don't worry about it, just go and kill people. Then, by the way, ranked mode, this is the thing we're playing. You want to know? Here's a tutorial, That is possible. It is, because new game types and everything, they get introduced, and it's fine. People aren't stupid, especially gamers that are coming to these games. They want to learn in their own way. So, it is possible.
I mean, when I think about like just any old shooter that comes out, any game, let's say a new one comes out tomorrow and my friends want to play it, the first thing that I always do is always run and gun. I'm so aggro. I suck at being a good teammate half the time. I'm sorry for anyone that plays with me on Overwatch or finals or any of that. But when I see someone, I'm like, I'm better than you. I'm gonna outgun you, right? And I think that's very prevalent in a lot of people's minds. It's like it's Call of Duty, right? They run and gun. So like being able to give them an opportunity to do that without any repercussions of like, well, you're not playing the actual game, you're just ruining the game by running and gunning. Give them that chance to do that so they can kind of get their feet wet on I think the hardest obstacle for them to jump is the mechanics of the game, the movement, the projectiles and such. Give them a playground to learn that, which then gets me into this transition of maps and how they're built and how they're made and how it can help the new player or hurt the new player based on how the map's made, right? Like when you think about like, imagine a spawn point that starts in a valley instead of a hill. You have no way to gain momentum from the beginning. You're setting up that new player to fail because they don't know what to do in watching all these other people do these crazy things in the air, and then they're just holding down spacebar and hovering over the ground. Like that's what you set them up if you give them a valley to spawn in. But if you put them on a hill, they immediately get that rush of speed and they're like, whoa, this game is sweet, right? Like you give them that taste right off the bat. And that's all map design as well as the spawn and all the pieces that you put together on it. So I want to talk about maps, and not directly in the way that you made your the video you shared with me earlier this morning, Greth, but you've put out a little while back. Not so much in the direction than that, but when we talk about these new kind of maps, let's call it a TDM map. What would a successful TDM map look like? So that way people aren't just in the middle of a map doing nothing.
So not much to say about maps really, but so the thing is, especially for game types, because that's the lead in, and yeah, the video I made was just showing like the technical details and our Lord and Savior Perlin, but that's the thing, like it doesn't really matter what the game type is if the maps are built well, because the maps are going to complement your physics, your movement, and the balance of the game itself. And then you apply certain things on that, right? So, because that's what I wrote in the doc as well, like imagine for a moment playing tribes on a completely flat plane. Just strip all of the terrain. I know this is very difficult for me. Just a flat plane, right? And what's the game you're playing on that? That's still tribes. That's still, you're still gonna, this jump, you're still gonna gain speed off of your jets. It's going to be awful, but it is a game that is being played, right? If you then take the maps we have right now in Tribes 3, they start from that flat plane, and you put some hills, and you shape where you want the game to go. But I don't think that's the right thing, because you already have the established physics and you already have the kind of game it should be. So TDM, it's probably a smaller map, but it is probably doesn't have to worry about routes, so maybe more bowl shaped, again DX is, but that's not the problem. It's if you have a Perlin noise in a properly set up map, like for instance your newbie, you put him on a hill, right? If you let go of ski, just toggle ski and let go. Don't touch the
Toggle
the
ski.
keyboards.
Ugh.
Yeah, but I know. Again, I had a flat plane, so this is difficult for me, right? So
yeah.
you do the toggle ski. You will go somewhere on a purlin noise. You will just bump around, and you'll end up somewhere, and you'll actually keep going for quite a while if you start up high, right? So this new player doesn't know what the hell he's doing, has no control. He's going somewhere, right? So those are your explorers right there, because they wouldn't know what's going on. TDM, you lower it a little bit, have a few bowls here and there. It'll work out. It's fine. It's the problem we have right now is finding that archetype that works with this game. And that is something that I think not a lot of developers have done so far. Anyone, because we started with the standard T1s, the Rain Dance and your Dangerous Crossing, your Stonehenge, whatever. They've been moved along even into TA, and we just need to figure out why those work. Every game has that. We have, again, StarCraft is actually the best comparison, because that game was abandoned in 2001, StarCraft Brood War, and then the community iterated on the maps that worked that the developer made. And all of the balance of that game and everything that has happened of the legendary first esports was all community-driven map design. And shifting a ramp left and right one bit made the entire meta collapse. We've not done that with tribes. We've had interpretation of a lot of people. I'm the mapping obsessed guy because I'm the one with the mouth, but there's a lot of more people who over the years have made maps, but we've never put down why does this work.
Yeah.
And I've given it a shot, and I think I'm pretty close to some of those founding pillars. And it will work with your TDM, with your hunt mode, with your rabbit. It wouldn't matter. It's what does this physics need to work and enhance it.
Are you comfortable building maps and finding those pillars when you don't know the in-game physics or the physics haven't been fully ironed out? Do you think that the foundation or those pillars are going to change or stay relatively the same?
That's a good question.
It'll be jetpacks and skiing. What the variables are in those jetpacks and skiing doesn't matter. It's you can scale down the features, you can smooth out the map, you can make it larger or bigger. Those are all non-destructive things you can do to those things. And that's why I said, in the last 2 years, somebody came to me. I did things for Tribes Ascend and it was never implemented, right? Although Dodge actually gave me the opportunity for TA modding to put one of my old designs from 10 years ago into TA, and it seemed to work. So that was great. I've been working on Tribes 1 in Unreal Engine and tried to get those scalings right. It took me 6 months off and on as a hobby. And yeah, it worked. The only problem with Tribes 1 was getting the spikiness right, so the physics actually worked. But other than that, you just smooth it out, and I gave it to another project, and they worked. So again, I'm working on my archetype. I have a thing that I do, but what's underneath is Berlin noise, the 3 levels of height, the comparative, the potential energy that you get. That'll stay the same for any sort of game. I've had this weekend, previous weekend, somebody messaged me like, "Hey, you're the mapping guy." Yes, I am. I gave him one of the things I was working on in a Unity project, completely different shooting gallery kind of thing, and the map worked on there. He scaled it and it was done. 265, 65 resolution, tiny map like T2. It was fine.
Let me ask another question, just because this is where my brain's going and I don't know the answer, and I don't expect you to know the answer, right? But I bet either you have answered it in the past or could touch on this after some thought. But there have been maps that have worked for some games and not worked for the others. And the one where my brain goes to is Stonehenge, was a tried and true legacy map, right? That was one of the most fun competitive maps in the early Tribes, right? But in Tribes Ascend, I think we had a 24/7 pub Stonehenge server, but it was never played in comp much, right? Mm-hmm. And the reasoning behind that, right? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. You bring up a good point there. And it seems like such a punishing map too, where how did that become so popular? But it was such a great map in the previous iterations of Tribes.
There's a reason why I went into my delirious state of map guy with Tribes Ascend, right? Because it did bring in those legacy maps. DX,
Yeah.
and it does work, right? Because DX is just a
one
bowl.
big bowl.
That's it, you know. Again, if you've seen the video, again, if you do a Perlin noise, you will encounter DX time and time again, right? It'll just be there.
But Stonehenge, it's like it's two bowls behind the base, and in the middle, not so much.
No, so you have the intrinsic problem that TA didn't have that much jetting, and you had the hard to gain, easy to maintain, but you couldn't do that on Stonehenge. You went down once, and then you had to try and curve around because the routes on TA's Stonehenge were gigantic. You couldn't crash the stands or whatever because you couldn't get that initial speed boost off of your jets actually being there. So that's the thing. That map was too much in the extreme. There's I actually made a map for Axial Drift where I went after I knew what T1 could do, right? What Tribes 1 jetting and skiing could handle. I went to the logical extreme of that. And I made Stonehenge times 2, giant plateaus and everything. And you would have to, some of them, if you're going off standstill, use all of your jets and a little bit of a disc jump to get up one of those cliffs. But apparently it worked. That's the thing. If you took Stonehenge and probably halved it, it would have been an amazing TA map. But that would have been sacrilege.
I think that's a right answer. It was just brutal to cap on, like from the length of a route to get a proper route to even getting the flag off the stand, and like there was really one way in, one way out. There was that back grab, but if you're getting away with that back grab, it's 1 out of 20 grabs. So maybe it was just like that lack of. Now, Dangerous Crossing, there is the one way too, right? You can argue the same thing, but it's because the rest of the map was conducive of like I can get to point A to point B really quickly in a fast, fun way. And so therefore I can crash the stand whether the flag's there or not.
Yeah, and the original Tribes Ascend maps, they all erred on the side of keeping everything low and keeping it all,
That's why
gentle.
I was surprised with the Tribes 3 Bella Omega map, which it's not the easiest flag stand to get to the top. And then someone can argue, oh, well, just go in the base and take the elevator. It's like, well, no, the elevator, the first version of it, shot you straight to the top. And you're like, no, I wanted to go in the middle. So I think they fixed that. But still, like, in the moment, you don't want to go inside your base to get to the flag stand. You want to be able to be on the ground and jet up. So I was really surprised with them bringing that structure that high up into the sky.
It's a good test. But the moment I set foot on that map, I realized, oh, they've changed the scaling. And that is something that's why it's kind of weird. Also, there are people who are capping within 5 seconds, right? They've figured it out. They're going, if you know how to maneuver on that map, you're going faster than anyone else. And you're breaking your speed limit. Blitz, we really can't have him go any faster there. But it's the thing is, right? This is cool for us players, us tribals. We see, oh, okay, yeah, this is the way it works. But having that different scale is disastrous for having you need that baseline. You need to say, no, we're gonna make this, but instead of having one hill, we're gonna break it up into a plateau. So when people get there, they have somewhere else to go than just down. And yeah, the whole the Bella Towers, again, I made a video about it. It was like, no, again. But that map was a beautiful example of, where Tribes Ascend found its limits, and where, again, we're getting to that point where are we going to start balancing the physics on these maps now? And that's where it'll stop, because, it's not there yet. I think right now you're going off of that flat plane and building on top of it instead of just having hills and valleys, having that natural terrain, which, by the way, because it is mathematical, it's a mathematical formula, there is a natural rhythm to these Perlin noises and these Tribes maps of old, because it works. there's an ebb and a flow to them.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we have just up and down and nothing, and up and down. We can work it. We'll be able to play on it. We'll be able to play tribes on a flat plane, no problem. But will we keep doing it, and will we actually find the game we love in it?
So,
And would it remain engaging? That's the other element of it as well.
yeah, I wanted to hear from Howsya and Mupp. One, I haven't heard your voices in a bit, but also like to have the third or fourth voice. No, it's fine. It's like the third or fourth voice of like, I guess like since we're on the topic of Tribes 3 and it's the most relevant, and we have, we don't have to look back 10 years on how we felt. Let's think about now. Like, what maps did you like? Did you not like? Did you think it was too big? Like, what was your general thoughts between? I guess we could start with 5v5, but if you want to go into 12v12, we could go there too.
I mean, I can just quickly retouch on the Stonehenge map. I mean, honestly, I think, at least for me, having played so many iterations of that map over the years, I do believe that the bowls behind the bases are just too punishing of a momentum, because you're on the stand, you get knocked down accidentally, or you step off the ledge, hey, it's going to be faster for you to just K out and respawn than get back up that goddamn pillar again.
Yep.
As for the middle structure, I think I only suspect that Dynamics had it in their mind before they knew that skiing was a thing, because very famously that was a bug, which the players found out about. But the middle structure, I suppose that was intended to have maybe heavy classes on top of that, chucking down mortars on the enemy base, or snipers or something like that. But of course, I rarely, if ever, saw players sort of utilize that middle structure. Like most maps, to be honest, like the middle structure, the very central element, take Dangerous Crossing. You have the bridge, right? Whoever walked on that bridge? Did you? I never saw anyone walk that bridge. No. We all skied around it.
Yep.
So that very central element on most of the, legacy maps, they were really underutilized for some rare, weird reason. I don't know why. But yeah, that's my 2 quick cents on the old maps, I suppose.
So how about today's maps though? Like, so I'm like asking 2 questions at once, because like 5v5 and 12v12 are 2 different beasts, and frankly, we had 2 different sets of maps for those too, right? With 12v12, I'll say this much: I thoroughly enjoyed 12v12 for the chaos that it brought. It felt more tribes than the 5v5. Though when I have a more competitive scene available to me and doing custom games and pugs, I really want to give 5v5 a shot. But I find myself in, I'd love to hear if anyone else had a different feeling, but I feel like everybody gravitated more to the 12v12. They enjoyed it more. Was it because the map was bigger and we got to enjoy more of the battleground with 12 people on each side? Was it the flag play? Frankly, I don't think it was the flag play. I think it was just being able to fight people, whether it's defending the flag, or it's midfield duels and trying new things out and getting blink grabs or something. Like, I'm curious. I'll ask you, Howsya, like, how did you feel about the size of the 12v12 maps, or do you think we should go smaller, bigger with what you enjoy the game with?
To be honest with the maps for the 12v12, I think they're in a ballpark figure for being correct. I would probably argue and say they need to be, I don't know, about 20% bigger, but I wouldn't go much more than that, because otherwise you run the risk of having this gorgeous map with Greth's added purling noise, for argument's sake, and you don't see anyone for 30 seconds. But that was one of the reasons why also in this playtest I gravitated to the 12v12, because for me it was the carnage of the chaos, and I knew that once I died or whatever, I could be back in a fight within 6-7 seconds because of the numbers on the game. In a 5v5, which I didn't do much of in the playtest 3, but I did a couple, I didn't meet anyone. Like, I'd ski around the map, and then I'm skiing around the map, and I'm like, where is everyone? And they're now skiing on the other side of the map because they wanted to fight me at my base. And so we're crossing paths, but on different sides of the map, and I've not got now that engagement of me dueling someone, or someone trying to come in and grab the flag or whatever.
I think you're nailing it on the head there. I think that's exactly what I'm getting at. Is like there was always something to do in 12v12, and you didn't even feel if someone wasn't there. It was 10v12. You still felt like there was a game. In 5v5, once one person's gone, geez, 5v5 was already too little. Now I only have a 5v4, and it just doesn't feel competitive. Now what? I'm gonna leave now too. Let's just queue up 12s was always the conversation we had when we did 5v5s. And I'm grateful in a way. I want custom games, don't get me wrong, but I'm grateful that we're kind of stuck playing 12v12s because I probably wouldn't have given it enough shot because the competitive nature in me would be like, I want to do 5v5 pugs, and then we'd make that fun, right? That would be my definition of fun for tribes. But going into a 12v12 unleashes that and makes me like, no, this is the tribes I fell in love with in Tribes 1 and Tribes 2, where I just jumped into a server and there's mortars everywhere and turrets and generator play and people yelling on voice comms, repair our generator. And, like just chaos in the voice chat. We need our VGS to have that. And just regardless of the flag in the score, it's just fun because there's always something to do when I spawned.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you refer to like your Battlefield, your CODs, this and the other. I mean, I haven't played them for years. But even going back to when I did play, you're looking at a 1632-a-side map, so yeah, they were large maps and the game area moved and this and the other, but because of the numbers in the game, you always had that engagement of, I died, I know that I'm going to get engaged in a fight within 10 seconds of respawning. I might have to do a bit of a run, blah, 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 but it's not going to take long. I can get back into the fight. It's going to be engaging. It's going to be fun for me again. I'll get that person that killed me. I'm looking at you, Mupp. But, and that's where the 12v12 is. I mean, from a competitive side, don't get me wrong, I suppose I'm a little bit old school. I know that obviously you things like your Overwatch and everything else all biased to your 5v5. From a Tribes perspective, with a correct map setup and gameplay setup, I would probably argue for a 7v7. I don't think you need to have more than that because of the complications of the comms and all the other technicalities that go with it. But I believe that if you was to go for a 7v7, you still get the engagement from being in fights quicker, whilst also feeling meaningful in that battle or in that particular game. The 5v5 just feels too empty for me personally.
Yeah, and maybe it's because of the size of the map. What do you think, Greth, for 5v5?
Well, again, I think the number of people on there decide what kind of game you're playing on it. I think indeed now those two maps for 5v5 I think are even too small. Maybe the setup needs to be different because the way the bases are placed or whatever. I just had, before I get into it, I just had the thought, like, what kind of precedent would Tribes set if we just went for 12v12 ranked or 24-24 ranked? Just as long as we have the players for it, why not do it?
Yeah,
like it'd be complete and utter chaos.
So much fun.
Yeah, I'd welcome it. But you said the last piece that I'm worried about is, will we have enough players for it? 3, 4, 6.
I mean,
plus
again,
later?
we were being positive.
Yeah,
we were being positive. So we can do that. If you have some backfilling as well, that doesn't matter. But if you and the whoever makes the matchmaking for that, I will pray for you. But it's just merit based. See what happens. Throw some people in there, and people will find their way. And the comms on that would be really fun.
Oh,
the proximity chat needs to happen, by the way.
Imagine how good you would feel if you had like a 75 or 80% win percentage in 12v12 ranked with randos. That'd be crazy. You would definitely have to prevent team stacking, right? In some ways, so like solo only.
Yeah, no partying.
Yeah. But that would be so much fun. That's a pipe dream that I'm like, we got to be really optimistic for that to happen. But I wouldn't mind sitting in a queue for 10 minutes waiting for that to fill personally. But I don't know if that's probably the minority of gamers.
The skin you get for that needs to be the most battered possible armor, like missing an eye and shit. Half of the helmet is like pieces of flag sticking out of the back. Like, I did it.
Yeah.
I fucking did it. It's like the most grizzled voice line that comes out of this thing.
Yeah.
You weren't there, man. But yeah, on the tiny maps, I mean, 5v5 could work, but I think the dynamic and the speed of everything needs to be much higher. And I don't think that the current physics would actually allow for that right now, but you could do it, but then get rid of the recall. I saw was it Fishsticks who played like a little mid-air thing, and it was 5v5, I think, instant recalls and everything. Then you have to accept it's going to be chaos. You can't 5v5 ranked. Don't do the onboarding there. It's not going to be for the onboarding. Just make it as hyper competitive as possible. Make it completely insane, and even do the Quake thing. Throw a quad damage in there. I don't care, or maybe like a speed thing or something. But that needs to keep going. That needs to keep going. That needs to be completely hyper a version of the game. And then if you are of the slower variety, then you can go do the chaos of 12v12. It's possible, and I am content creator man now, so I might try and make a couple of 5v5 maps. Like, what would they look like? Like, I've been doing some map design on the side on my streams and stuff to use for any project that wants them, because there are a few. And yeah, it is perfectly possible. But right now, especially like the snow map, actively drains speed from the players because of the way the hills are set up.
Yeah.
And then you have the Crossfire map that I think is probably the most playable for that kind of thing. Even though one mistake and you're out, you better just go back to spawn. And that also needs to be remedied, but that's a different subject.
Homework assignment for you, Greth, and I'd love to see it when it's done. What would your take of a one flag 5v5 CTF, what that would look like? I've seen a lot of different iterations being tossed around in the feedback channel. I even thought of an idea of like, what would an attack defend one flag would look like, where defenders spawn at the flag and the attackers spawn in these like Team Rabbit 2 or the current spawns that exist, and you have 5 minutes to try to capture the flag as many times. You grab it and you go to a goal on the other side of the map, or what does it look like? Like, could that be fun? But we don't need the answer now, but that's why it's a homework assignment. I
actually have it.
Yeah. I'd love to see it. Like, I don't know if I would be able to pull it up here unless you shared your screen.
Yeah, but well,
share it.
Make it a thumbnail. I'll where is it? I have too
many followers, Greth. Too many followers.
Let's
basically
get crazy.
What it looked like was it was Dangerous Crossing ×2, but in miniature version. So 2 balls that interlock together. You have a little bit of an outside, a little bit of a height change. But yeah, I'll dig for it. Hang on.
All right.
Continue.
We'll let you do your thing. I know we were trying to keep this around 90 minutes. I knew we wouldn't keep it at 90, but I do want to drift this into a final thought and question for everybody to kind of chew on and talk about. And whoever's ready to talk, open your mouths and speak on it. But we have another playtest coming in January. That's all we've heard so far. That's the only news. I'm curious what you guys think they're going to surprise us with this time. Each playtest had something new. Three terms ago, it happened, right? 2 times ago, it was 12v12. This time, it was trials, right? So there was always something new to the game that came out. I would expect something new again. Is it one flag CTF? Is it TDM? Like, is it just new maps and custom games or what have you? I'm curious what you guys think the next playtest will have in store for us. What's your predictions?
I'll go first here. Is this my closing thoughts, by the way? Because
it's not your closing thoughts. It's a closing topic.
Great. Okay. So I'll just say what they have kind of confirmed that is public, right? Is that they are working very heavily on being able to give us custom servers or the ability to basically have pickups. That's coming in the next couple of playtests, unless that's what we were told, right? So I'm looking forward to that. Don't know if it's the next one or not. That's all kind of, there's some other things that I know, but nothing that I actually want to reveal. I'll just go with, I'm excited for the next one.
Who else got thoughts on this?
I don't know. I kind of suspect that they are gonna adjust the physics again. I know that on the Discord and that there's obviously been a lot of screaming about sort of like the skiing, the jet capacity, the speed. Obviously, that's a given. So I think that's going to be on the cards. And ironically, there was a little suggestion I added to it, which was for the laser pointer. Just purely so that people can sit there and point at someone and go, "Give me the flag, I'm here." It's, you know, I appreciate the TA you had it for the use of call-ins and stuff like that. But just, I don't know. I kind of suspect that they're going to do that, and I think they're going to change the packs again along with some weapons.
Okay, so
no
new game mode per se. It's just more a big revision of what's already there.
Yeah, I reckon so.
Okay. And Mupp?
Yeah, I think that, and this is purely speculation, of course, but obviously new rebalance passes most likely when it comes to both jet fuels, when it comes to trajectory, speed, drop-offs, stuff like that. But I do think that we might be seeing a first sort of alpha pass of the whatever kind of in-game shop there is. You know, at least UI interface of picking out different skins and things of that nature, because we already know about the hidden shortcut for the last test where you press the right key on your keyboard to see a few different skins. So we know it's in there, and I'm thinking that's probably going to get expanded.
Yeah, that's a good thought, actually. Maybe that is it. It's like there's more to the UI when you first load the game. I think in the very first playtest we were able to look at our loadout, but since then we've only been able to queue, and that's it. So maybe there's some kind of other things that you could set up your loadout for once previous to playing the game, and now it saves, and now you can maybe select your loadouts. I like that thought. That's a good one. Greth, did you find what you're looking for, or do you have any thoughts? Or both?
Yep, it's in the Discord. So and while you're looking at that, for me, but this needs to come with a warning. I think with the last playtest they did like extremely heavy on the gravity and everything. With this is an alpha test warning, I think they should go really extreme. I think this game is going to be easier to balance if everything is overpowered, if you just push everything to a limit. Like, let's see what 200% jets looks like. Let's see what all those, some balance changes here and there, and maybe scare a few people along the way. Because that is my real worry, is what is going to be the limit of this iteration? Like, where are we going to go into beta, right? And especially, of course, for the maps and stuff, it's not that hard. It's not that hard to make a large number of these maps, and maybe just, I don't know, offline, 9 height maps in a little cube, put a teleporter in, and let us just ski on it. No base assets, nothing. Just let us ski on different types of terrain, and let's pick them, and let's see what's going to happen, right? Really nitty-gritty actual alpha stuff, because so many times an alpha ends up being a beta, and I think we can make this work, because that's one thing. We are hyper-focused on the things that need to change, but we are playing the game. We're playing it, we're having fun, we're making content, and it's there, right? It's just that I feel it throughout the entire community. It's like that anxiety of but we're not there yet, but we can make this work. And I feel like the dynamic there has changed a little bit since TA, where people again are more mature and older, and sometimes ancient, but also have been doing this kind of thing for a while now. So yeah, I'd like the communication, even though it is said in many, and I'm sure Mupp can expand on that. You probably don't want to engage with the community in that sense, too open, right? But I think this might be an exception. Like, there's a lot of loud people, but there's also a lot of people who've again, done this before, and we might have some of the solutions already, and actually reduce the cost of development and time to just take those along and test them. If they don't work, fine. But then those people are calm because they've tried.
So we're actually looking at what you sent us on Discord. If you want to give us a quick thought on that, and then we'll go to our closing thoughts.
So this thing I made for a completely different game. Again, a one-man show that sort of petered out, as so many of them do. This is a lot smoother than what my terrain usually looks like, because I really cue-balled it. I polished it clean for a very Tribes Ascendy smooth ski. And really, I just took 2 mirrored bowls and locked them together. Have that flag, and again, the height is variable. Yeah, you just pull a slider. Everything is manageable. Put a flag in the middle of that. Between those 2 bowls, have your base at the back of it, or your goal, whatever. And that's it.
Okay.
That's as simple as it can be.
I see.
And you have your little bit of outside. You have those middle platforms at the outside, so you can dip in there, depending on how high you scale it. And again, same principles apply.
Got it. Okay. And so you're keeping it 5v5, one on one side, one on the other. Grab the flag, bring it back to your base. Once you capture it, the flag respawns back there.
Sure. And if you want, you can re-add some of the detail and then double the size of this. That's not the point to be made here. But yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so I'm going to give my closing thoughts here. My predictions too for the next playtest. I'm going to assume we're going to get... Oh man, I have so many thoughts. A couple new weapons. I think Shock Lance is coming. I'm going to say that's going to be the one that comes out. Shock Lance is coming. Is going to be my prediction number 1. Number 2, I think... Oh man, dare I say 16v16? I feel like they might want to up the ante, because like I think they said they want to see how their servers can expand, and I think they said as bullish as 64 versus 64. I'm pretty sure at some point they mentioned that, so I think they're gonna want to try to push it a little bit further. So that's gonna be guess number 2, and then guess number 3, and maybe this is hopeful thinking for me. Custom games. I think custom games, we had a little teaser with a lock on it and we couldn't touch it, but I do think custom games is coming soon, as early as the next playtest, which will then allow us to really trial out the 5v5 in a competitive nature, which then gives us an opportunity to give a full give us a full taste of what comp can be and what it should be. And maybe not for the better at this point of the game. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I personally look forward to it, but having that custom button I think is my top hope, but also top prediction for next week's playtest. I'm hoping next week. All right. I think we talked about a lot. I hear this music playing in my ear for almost an hour now, or 2 hours now. But I want to chat through it with everybody, give them the last thoughts for the day, and we'll see when we talk again. But my last thought is NA versus EU. I want it to happen. I look forward to the next playtest. I look forward to dominating as NA against the EU folks. And then as time goes on, I look forward to making more content with folks. I think these YouTube shorts and a way to share these clippable moments that I do think exists in the game today, I want to help spread the good word. So hopefully y'all can join me on that. Hot Rod, what are you thinking?
Yeah, my final thoughts are, let's make the chain gun great again. Controversial, hot take, whatever. I need to chain whore people. I think people, like the younger kids, want to chain whore people. Let's do it. Get rid of, like, projectile, great. You're not, every time you hit me with the midair, I'm just going to be like, if that was luck, right? But if somebody chains me down, respect. I made a mistake there, right? Let me fry some people with the chain gun. Stop making it a useless weapon where I have to choose that between that and the grenade launcher.
Get this guy off the tequila. Howsya?
Oh, I just hope that the game goes well, to be honest with you. It's been a long love of Tribes, and controversy is what HotRodRe just said. Once you get that first mid-air, you're hooked. That's it, you've sold your soul. You will be a Tribes player for the rest of your life because you just want more. It's addictive. And I'd really like to see Prophecy do well with this, and I'm pretty sure everyone who's in this conversation now, as long as everyone in Twitch and everyone on the Discord, we want the same. We've had mistakes from the past, from the different variations, and we all have individual takes and what we want and what we don't want and everything else. But we've been through the mistakes. Take some feedback from us and don't make them again. We've been through it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next playtest. Hopefully, I'll be around to play it, and just get the word out there so we can get as many people hooked on this as possible. Really.
Cool. I look forward to seeing what content you create, Howsya, and if there's anything that I can help with, any projects you have, I'd love to help where I can. Even though I'm in the NA side and I have a full-time job starting January 2nd again. I just been on a 2-week break. I didn't get laid off or anything, but I'm happy to help where I can. Well,
yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, I just hope that, and I understand this is a balancing act, because on the one hand, you want to please the old schoolers, the people who are just stubborn and unfriendly and toxic like ourselves. And on the other hand, you want to attract the new players. So there is a balancing act with innovation constantly. I think Tribes did a bang-up job. They introduced a number of new weapons. Some you might have needed a balancing act and was outright banned, like the Jackal in competitive play from the very get-go. But there was a number of innovative weapons introduced in Tribes Ascend, and I hope that actually keeps on being delivered with Tribes 3, to be honest. I would like to just name drop the Buckler, because the Buckler was awesome.
Yes.
Maybe not a grapple hook. Who knows? I'd love to see it personally, but I understand the balancing act.
I want to see a grappler hook. I love I love your closing thoughts here. Again, chaos. Give me the chaos. Have people grappling around in a 16v16. I don't care. We'll ban it in 5v5 if we have to.
I mean, honestly, there's a number of things you could do with a grapple just to balance it out. Maybe have an actual physic to it, like it snaps if you put it under too much stress, so you can't just slingshot your way in a heavy suit coming in at 300 or whatever. So you could potentially balance that thing out. But all I'm saying is really, like, I love the Merv from Tribes Ascend myself. So I'd love to see more stuff like that. Just being.
Of course, he likes the Merv. Everyone, come on.
Of course, I did.
You also like the cluster grenade too, didn't you? Or the fractal. That's what I was looking for.
No, that was for dirty casuals. Flag defenders.
Give me more
Jesus
guns
Christ.
named the Merv. Come on.
Man. All right, Greth, what do you got for us?
I think this came out of nowhere and it shocked a lot of people, and everyone is like stumbled back into their tribe's brain. It certainly was for me. As long as we can, the word I've used a couple of times is feature creep, right? It's if everyone's like going into fractal breakages of all kinds of things. Oh, we need this and we need that and this. I think if the devs would have done a good job trying to start this off of a project that wasn't intentionally intended for it, at least that soon. If we can get the foundations good and proper, if we can do that, then none of the above, the little percentages here and there, are going to matter. Mm-hmm. And I think this is very much a possibility. And then, regardless of what we did, because that's what we did for Tribes Ascend as well, regardless of all the cantankering we're doing, we're gonna kick out a competitive scene. We're gonna bring in the new bloods, as we've done time and time again. We're gonna drag them in kicking and screaming. We're gonna do our capper workshops. We're gonna do all those things, regardless of what happens, because we don't have a choice. We do not have free will in this. We're here until whatever happens, and
until Tribes 4.
Prepared until Tribes 4, until whatever comes next, because that is what we do, and that is a certainty that prophecy has. Good or bad, we can be the optimists as well, and we're gonna try and make it work, whatever shape or form it takes.
Cool. Yep, I think all of us echo that.
One little thing I just remembered. I mean, for the love of God, please, whoever's watching this, just have some type of unlockable behind the tutorial, like a skin, whatever, because we need to entice new players into just playing through that thing. So just any carrot you can attach to the tutorial map, done and dusted.
Cool.
Everyone who hasn't played the tutorial has a llama for a skin.
Oh, you can't get out of it until you play the tutorial. I don't want to play the tutorial.
Llama head. You've got a fucking llama as your head. There you go.
One thing I wanted to add at the end, because we talked about it, and I just remembered it now, and then we'll end it there, I promise. I want a way for, we were talking about clippable moments. I want the game to have clips built into the game. Like, Overwatch has this. There's play of the game at the end of the game, cool. But there's also your own personal play of the games if you go to your profile. And then being able to easily share that with your friends or download it and upload it. Like I seen with my YouTube shorts that I literally put minimal effort into, and it's just shots that I got, like a quick flip. It was a flick MA. People loved the short just because it looked cool. If we're able to just give that power in the game to people to share it with their friends or on their social medias or co-carnages of the world to show like these really quick 10-second moments, that could go a long way to help get the game out there more, to make people go, all right, yeah, I'll try it. Sure. $20. Fuck it. I'm in. I think that could go a long way. Overwatch had that in it, and I think it helped a lot just to get people's top moments out there with ease. Okay.
I think it's a great idea.
I get the
Probably
last
best
word.
idea to stream.
Content.
Okay.
Just get a correct observer mode in. That would really help.
Yeah, please.
If
No
we have
invisible
custom
strikes.
games, I'll say this as part of my prediction. If there's custom games, there's also an observer mode.
Yeah.
I'm saying that. Next playtest, we're getting that.
We be casting.
And then we cast our first games, and I can't wait for it. Yeah, a ton of content's coming to this channel, so be sure to like and
That'd be
subscribe.
awesome.
No, just kidding. Don't subscribe to me. Save it to someone else. All right, guys, love this conversation. Thanks for having me with you guys, and we'll see where next week takes us. But until then, I guess we're gonna have to go back into playing games like the Finals or Apex or Hearthstone Battlegrounds. Yeah, I still play that game, unfortunately. But for everybody that tuned in to watch, thank you. I appreciate it. Sorry for the drought of content because, well, we haven't had Tribes 3 in our hands in a couple weeks now, but hopefully next week we're able to talk about more. Look at that feedback channel, have some ad hoc conversations. Hit me up if you guys have any ideas that you want to make content with. But until then, have a great, is it Wednesday now? Thursday? Is it Thursday?
Thursday.
Thursday.
All right. See you next week, maybe. All right. Adios,
Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Cheers, guys.
GG's.